Good evening. My name's Kennedy Lerma, and today I'm going to be talking about my year in ISM. And my topic for this year is neonatology, so that's what the basis of my presentation is going to be about. So, just a little agenda for you guys. I'll include timestamps with each of these bullets in the description, so you can skip to whichever part you are interested in. So I'll start with an introduction, and then go on to talk about a little bit about what exactly is ISM, and then my teach speech, which was a speech we had to present in front of our class and other classes throughout the school as well. My mentor experience, my research throughout this course, my product idea and development, and of course, I will conclude it. So what is neonatology? Neonatology is classified as a subspecialty of pediatrics. So pediatrics, of course, deals with the healthcare of children ages from birth to age 18, and then after that, they get a real physician. So neonatology specifically deals with just the newborns, primarily from even when they're inside the tummy still to only about 1 year of age, and then they'll go to regular pediatrician. They are mostly taken care for in the NICU, which stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, and that is basically just like a regular ICU, but for all the little babies. Now, of course, with each topic you choose throughout ISM, you should have a reason for why you want to do it. So I think the two biggest ones are my mission. So I've always known that I wanted to work in the healthcare field ever since I was a little girl, but I didn't know exactly, which specialty I wanted to do. Of course, everyone likes to say anesthesiologist just because they make the most money and it's the easiest. Not the easiest, but it's easiest to say because you make the most money. And so that's, of course, what I wanted to do for a little bit. But then I realized that ever since I was a little girl, I've had kind of a maternal instinct towards, my brother or my little cousins. And whenever someone would get sick, I would put a little cloth over their head, make sure they're all cool and taken care of. I try to get them their medicine. So I thought that would be also great for me because, I love babies. I've always been someone who's known as loving babies. I love them more than puppies and kittens. I think babies are just great. So I figured with those two combined, neonatology would be the perfect specialty for me. And last year, I studied music education because this is my second year at ISM, and I thought it was a wonderful experience. But I think this will suit me more because I realized I love music and I love playing my instrument, as kind of more of a hobby, but not necessarily as a career for the rest of my life. So it's on a completely different side of the spectrum. Now, what exactly is ISM? So ISM is an acronym that stands for Independent Study Mentorship, and so I'll break it down letter by letter just so you guys can get a better understanding of what exactly this course entails. So the I stands for independent, which basically you just do your work on your own time, and I think it's a great stepping stone towards college because your professor's not always going to be there telling you, hey, this is due tomorrow, hey, why aren't you working on this, hey, like it's not super pressured stuff. And you get to decide your own topic. Like I said last year, I did music education, and this year I'm doing neonatology. There are people doing whatever they choose to, and I think that's super cool that you get to choose your own topic. There's someone doing environmental engineering. We had someone do dance last year, and it's such a broad stuff for you to pick from. And then time management. So your teacher isn't going to tell you what to do in all the class time, which means you have to manage your time yourself, basically. At the beginning of the 6 weeks, we get a calendar, and it'll have all of our assignments on it, and it'll have all of our due dates, and you have to make sure your assignment is in on time. If you want to do all of the 6 weeks worth of work in 1 week, then that's totally okay. Then you have 5 weeks to do whatever else you want in that class. However, it's nice to see that and focus your own time in class. It's not really like lesson teaching every day in class. It's kind of, what you need to do, so work on it. And then that's moving on to the S. This is what we do in class, study. So there is research that goes into this. However, since you are picking your own topic, I find it really enjoyable to work and study on things that you like to study about. So it is a really fun class. And then you get real life learning. And I believe, ISM is the only class in all of Stevens that you get this real life learning experience. And I think it's super cool to go out of the classroom and really see what's going on inside your field of study. And then there's class assignments. So it is kind of, based on days of the week. So every Monday we'll have a mentor journal due, every Thursday we'll have an annotated bibliography due. And I think that's super helpful as well with the time management. It goes hand in hand because it's very schedule based, and I think that's super cool. And then the M in ISM stands for mentorship, and then this is where the book of my year goes to, I think, is studying with a mentor of your choosing. So like I said, I chose neonatology this year, and I'll talk a little bit about it more further into my presentation about my mentor experience specifically. But yeah, so basically you'll choose a mentor and then you'll study with them. You can get hands-on training, which is again outside of the classroom learning. And there's huge range of variety with the mentorship. So even within my field of neonatology, there's so many mentors that I could choose from. I could even choose a pediatrician to study with, or a NICU nurse, or a neonatal surgeon. There's usually a lot of people you can choose from if you have broad topic like I do, which is neonatology. Of course, even broader would be pediatrician or just healthcare worker in general. So there's a lot of variety that you can do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about neonatology, which is what we did in our teach speech. It was basically just informing a classroom about your topic. So that's what I'm going to start doing for these next few slides. So the NICU is primarily composed of these three people. You have the nurse, the doctor, and the surgeon. And this works with, of course, almost any specialty. But here's some specifics on them. So the nurse is the one who is going to be spending the most time with the baby and the parents, and they'll be doing the regular checkups and they'll make sure the baby's okay. The parents are most likely going to talk to the nurse the most. And then there's the doctor. These are the people that you schedule appointments with, and then the doctor will actually check them out and make sure they have specific training in this care, and it's of course a little bit more schooling. And then the surgeon is specifically surgery, and like I said here, it's a lot of training to perform these corrective surgeries on the newborns. And also the parent might not see the surgeon as much just because surgeons are very busy. They're busy people, especially with the little babies. And then with each of these nurse, doctor, and surgeon, here we have some of the salaries. This is from 2018. And of course, the more schooling you receive and I don't want to say more important because those are all important, but I guess the more risk there is to your job, there is going to be a higher salary. So each of these professions make a great salary. Even as a NICU nurse is about $7,500, $75,000, 500. But I think it would be great. I think what for me specifically, I was in between NICU nurse and neonatologist, just because neonatal surgeon, it is a lot of schooling, especially, I mean, a surgeon in general is really hard work, but with the baby specifically, they have really, really tiny organs and it's so easy to mess up. And I think that's just such a scary thing. I love babies, but operating on a baby that tiny and the organs that tiny and the veins super, super small, it's definitely very scary. But the salaries range. So how do I become one? Like I said, I focused mainly on neonatologist and a NICU nurse just to see exactly what some of these requirements would be and for the future. So some education requirements for a neonatologist, it's of course going to be medical school that you have to go through after your undergraduate studies, and then a pediatric residency. So it's kind of narrowing down rather than building up. So you have to learn everything first, and then you can choose to specialize in pediatrics and then study, like, of course, the medical care from ages 0 to 18, and then specifically neonatology. And as a NICU nurse, you typically would only need an associate's or bachelor's degree depending on the program you go through, and then probably like another nurse's training. It really just depends on the hospital and what they require. So some other requirements, of course, you need a medical license for a neonatologist, just like you would with any other doctor, and a registered nursing license, an RN license for a NICU nurse. So some projected job growth in 2018 to 2028. So it's expected to increase 7% for all physicians and surgeons in general, not just specifically neonatologists, and 12% for NICU nurses specifically. And then the mean salary, like we saw before, neonatologist a little over 200,000 and NICU nurses about 75,000. So really, really good salaries. So would I make a good neonatologist? Throughout my study this year in neonatology and in ISM, I think these 4 points are determined to see if you would make a good neonatologist. So one, academics, of course, you have to have good grades, just as you would for any medical school. You have to be determined, and get good grades and know your studies. make sure you're doing well at everything. You have to have kind of a big brain for that. And you have to be strong-willed. So it's gonna be hard being in some of these NICUs because some of these babies are gonna be really sick, and you can't just be the type of person to cry and, break down about it and have it ruin your whole day, because there are other babies that need your help and families that are counting on you. So just because, of course, babies die, and some babies will die while you're there, so you can't have that completely ruin your whole day and the rest of your surgeries if you do become a surgeon. But with that comes empathy. So these parents are going to be freaking out of their child. The child can't really speak for themselves. And you have to have a caring heart to communicate with these and have good bedside manner with these parents and the babies, because if you're completely cold-hearted to them and you're speaking just straight facts, they're scared. They need someone there who's also acting as a friend with them, because it's a scary thing when your baby's that small, and it's a really scary thing. You need to have a lot of empathy and flexibility. So a NICU, just like any other ICU, is pretty crazy sometimes because everything's happening everywhere. Some baby might need to go into surgery early, or some baby might need to be pushed back, or something would happen. Anything could go wrong. And so you really just have to be flexible. It's not specifically like, I do this hour of the day and I do this, or I do this paperwork right now and then I'm doing this. Like, it could truthfully change at any moment. And I think it's really important to be flexible if you want to become a neonatologist. And I'll move on to my mentor experience specifically. So throughout this year, of course, having the topic of neonatology, it might be hard to find specific neonatologists because it is such a hectic job and there are going to be doctors that are very busy. So through my first half of the year, I met with a NICU nurse, Mrs. Lucy Crawford, and she worked at St. Luke's Baptist Hospital. And I got to look around her NICU that she worked in, and I thought it was super amazing. And she told me exactly what her day-to-day life is like and how crazy it is sometimes and how the babies respond. She told me everything basically about what I would need to know going to medical school if I wanted to become a NICU nurse. So I worked with her a lot, but I think there was just a moment in time where I wanted more hospital access, but because it was such, I guess, a strict hospital, it was harder to get hospital access than I would with someone else. So I decided, and of course their schedule too, it didn't always match with mine, so I had a new mentor, and that was Dr. Kristen Plastino, and she is a pediatrician at the Medical Arts and Research Center. And she is also very great. I didn't get to meet with her much because of the coronavirus situation we have here. And of course, can't really go to hospitals now with all this going on. So I only met with her twice. But in those two times, I got to see a little bit different side of it rather than just specifically in a NICU and seeing him working with a NICU nurse. I got to work with a pediatrician, and it's like a normal hospital with the children. So I thought that was also a very cool experience. And I'm grateful for both of these women and the help that they brought me throughout the year. And each time you meet with your mentor, you log it, because in ISM, you're supposed to meet with your mentor 1 hour a week. However, of course, with these busy schedules, it might be hard. So if you spend a day with them and let's say it's 5 hours, okay, well, then that's going to make up some time. So basically, you log the date and the time, and then you have your mentor sign just to make sure you're not lying about it. And then it'll have the week number, week 1 through 6 for each of the 6 weeks. And then you'll write basically about what you learned and how you and your mentor reacted or interacted that day, how your life is going in general in ISM because it is a stressful time, and of course how are you working to benefit your product, which I will also talk about later. And this is just a really thick 3-ring notebook that we put inside of our portfolios that we usually present at the end of the year, but it's just this huge binder. This mentor journal log is my log from last year because I don't have my mentor journal with me this year because it's back at the school. But that's essentially what it would look like at the end. All the slots are pretty much filled out, a bunch of signatures, and to the right is an example of a mentor journal. So mentor journal number 5, the date and time, and then me specifically, I like to just bullet point mine. And so it's not necessarily a super concise and English proofread paragraph. It's more of just jotting down all the notes, because when you're in the situation, sometimes it's hard to be like, excuse me, ma'am, let me write down my notebook. So I like to just jot down notes and then maybe compile my ideas later and put more bullet points. Here's some more classwork that we have to do, reflection journals. So this is another opportunity for us to really think about what we're doing in ISM right now and how is it going? How did that speech go for you? How are you and your mentor working well together? And I think this is a really great stress relief for this class, just because this class can get really stressful. So this is a really great opportunity for us to jot down what we're thinking according to the prompt, and the prompt is always reflecting on you, which is why they're called reflection journals. And after we submit them, our teacher will highlight anything or make comments on them, and it's like a little conversation, and I think that's really great. These are in paragraph formats, so as you can see, the one on the right is just one big paragraph, and then the one on the left has a couple more. There's structure to it, but not that much structure. There's no maximum or minimum paragraphs. It's just let out what you need to. I think that's super awesome. And then here we have some participatory research. So on the left is one of the hospitals that I would visit sometimes with my mentor, and then on the right is just a picture of a NICU. And as you can see, it's a lot of nurses, a lot of babies just working to do what they need to. I think participatory research is super important because it's one thing just to talk about it and you can visualize it a little bit, but it's really nothing compared to actually working in the job field, which I think is super, super amazing. And it really gives you a clear idea on, do I want to do this or not? So last year, I would work with students in the music field. And like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was super fun, but it definitely wasn't something that I wanted to make a career out of myself. And I thought it was, but after going through that participatory stuff, I realized maybe it's not. But with this neonatology stuff, I think it definitely is something I want to do and try for the future. So my product, now we're getting onto the product side. Every student in ISM has to build a product just based on their topic. So my topic, neonatology, I thought it would be a good idea to try to make a blood transfusion model because blood transfusions are the most popular procedure done, not just in neonatology, but pretty much in any like healthcare field ever, because it's just a common thing to get more blood or to give blood. It even happens at blood drives. You get blood taken into your blood taken out of you, and then it goes into someone else. So I thought it would be cool to kind of make a model of that and then instruct it to a class or just show people how exactly it works, just because I think it is an important thing for people to know since it is very common and it will more than likely happen to you or someone that you know eventually when they're hospitalized. So evaluating my product through this process, here is an example or what I was going on, what I was basing my product on is a picture to the left, which is a doll, and then you have some donor blood in, and then of course going into the baby intravenously, intravenously. So my product was a lot harder than I expected. I thought, not that I thought it was going to be easy, but I just didn't know that there were so many specific and intricate parts that went into this blood transfusion until after I did a lot of research on it, and I definitely learned a lot about how this works. And there's a diagram up there where you can see exactly which blood goes to which blood type, and if I have A positive blood, who can I give blood to, or O negative, and everything like that, because there is specific blood types that can go to specific people. Thought that was super cool. I've also been the kind of person to love giving blood. I know a lot of people shy away from needles. Scary. Some needles are a little big, but I have always loved giving blood. Whenever my school does blood drives, I'm the first person to sign up. I think it's super cool. I've given double red blood cells, plasma, platelets, just because I think it's super great to give back to your community, and people need blood. You always need blood. Also, the minute I turned 18, I became an organ donor, which is another reason I wanted to do this product because it's something I'm pretty passionate about as well, and I love giving blood because you save lives through it. So I think that's super cool. My product timeline. So with any product, you should have steps so that way your goal gets accomplished. So that's exactly what we did here in ISM. By February 12th, you should have 25% done. And so what my 25% looked like, it was to have all of the information ready to go and have a list of my supplies needed in order to build my blood transfusion model. So I should have learned enough to make my product and have a list of everything I needed. And then my 50% was due on February 26th, and my 50% was to begin ordering all of the supplies and have a model on hand to follow, which was this picture up here with the little baby doll. And so that was my model on hand that I was going to follow, and then I began ordering supplies to kind of recreate that and really work on it myself. And then by March 25th, I should have all the supplies by now and the majority of the demos done. So the majority of what I'm constructing should be done and all my supplies should be here with me. And then by April 15th is 100% and the assembly should be completed and all information should be learned as if I can teach someone how blood transfusions work word for word. However, with this, there were dilemmas. So one, finding the supplies and looking up resources that I needed was a lot harder than I thought because I had to call several hospitals because some of the things that I needed were only available kind of through hospitals just to use, and I had to not lie, but just say that I was using them for research, which really it is, I guess. But I had to act very professional in the situation because I needed these parts. And some of them were also really expensive, which goes into my next dilemma was money. This product was a lot more expensive than I anticipated. Some things I was able to make myself, as in the fake blood, it was rather easy to make, and just some stuff like that. But some stuff I really did need to buy because it's not something you can just kind of recreate yourself. So that was another big thing. Some of these medical parts and supplies weren't that cheap and which going along with hard to find. And then, of course, the hugest product dilemma of them all was the coronavirus. So, of course, it was a challenge, and I needed to redo my product a little bit because some of the things I wouldn't be able to get access to now. I couldn't go out and buy the supplies that I needed, and some of these websites weren't really delivering at the time because of this COVID stuff, and especially because it's a medical product. It's really hard. So I redid and revised my product a little bit. It's still a blood transfusion model, but it wasn't going to be as intricate as this picture up here, just because it would be a lot harder to get some of the supplies I needed. So here's my final product outcome. It looks a little ridiculous, but bear with me. Get it? Because it's a bear. Anyway, so the bear is a demo for the baby, and then you have kind of an IV that I use headphones to be, that's basically how you monitor the heart rate. Up there you can see the heart rate and see making sure they're stable, and then I use, of course, this fake blood and then a bag to act as a fake blood going in through his veins, and then I use that red leash to act as the blood going through the tubes and then into the bear. So this is my final product outcome. Of course, it wasn't exactly what I envisioned, just because I had limited resources at the time. It was really difficult to construct something on shorthand notice. Once it was announced that we weren't going back to school, it was kind of a go time. Of course, all of ISM had a meeting and there was some revising of products, and this is my revised product. So I thought, it's 10 out of 10 for me. In conclusion, I think this senior year in ISM was absolutely amazing. Even though there were, of course, dilemmas and my product didn't come out exactly how I wanted it to, I learned so much throughout my topic, and I think this class opened my eyes a lot. I love this classroom and I love being it throughout all my 4 years of high school, from GT to ISM. And I'm so happy that it gave me this experience to really know what I wanted to do with my life and really pursue this neonatology stuff because I am absolutely in love with it. The more I researched it, the more I learned about it, the more I loved it. So I definitely feel a lot more comfortable going into college. I know what I want to do now and I have no regrets right now. I know exactly the route I want to take, the medical school, all of the trainings I have to go through. I'm excited about it. So super cool that ISM gave me that opportunity. And I love the environment. Everyone is struggling in ISM with their own product, and it's cool to kind of get that community to vent with and share your problems with, because even though everyone is working on a different topic and is working on different kinds of research, you still all have that same stress going. So I think it was super cool to really experience that environment. I had a rather small class. There was only about 4 or 5 of us, and people would be gone visiting their mentors day to day. So it was really cool for my class, especially because I got to really zone in on my work and work one-on-one with myself and my mentor. But then also there were larger class periods like fifth period where we could still all come together during a lunch period or whatever we needed to focus on this ISM stuff and relieve stress with each other. I thought that was super cool, and I absolutely loved the environment, and I would highly recommend taking this class if you are an underclassman watching this video. And I also think it was super cool that we were had this opportunity to do our presentation online rather than just cancel it altogether, or being not being able to do it in person is kind of a blessing in disguise, because now I can share this video with my family who doesn't live in Texas, and so it's super super cool. And I keep saying that, but it's a blessing in disguise, really, to be able to share this with people who wouldn't be able to make my presentation if it was in person. So I would like to say a thank you to my two mentors, especially for teaching me all of this and making me realize that they're wonderful human beings, and that's the kind of person I want to be when I get older. I couldn't thank them enough. Thank you so much. My ISM teacher, Mr. Banky, you have done a wonderful job with this ISM program. I think with it being your first year, of course there's a lot of stress. Of course, not everyone likes change, and you just have to adapt. And I think you did a really great job with that. I love what the ISM program is becoming and what it has been, which goes to my another thank you to my old ISM teacher, Missy Setos, for also really pushing me to do well and helping me become the worker and person I am today throughout all of this study. She has done a great job building this ISM program, and I think Mr. Banky is also doing a fabulous job with continuing it. And I love the ISM program that we have. Thank you to my parents and my family for always supporting me and taking me to mentor meetings if I needed a ride, truly supporting me with whatever I did, whether it was music education or if it's neonatology. They were super supportive with me learning about it and me wanting to pursue it regardless of what it was. Thank you to my classmates for dealing with some of my not so great presentations and some of my great presentations. I'm glad we all got to learn together and experience this class together and help each other. I love you guys so much, and thank you for this experience. That's the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, you can leave a comment in the description and I will answer to any and all questions, comments, or concerns. You can check out my other videos on my channel. I only have one. It's just a band video. It's whatever. But there's that if you guys want to check this out. Thank you so much if you watch this whole thing, or if you just watch this section, thank you as well. I definitely would not be able to complete this course without the support of my friends and family like you guys who are watching, mentors, teachers. Thank you so much. I completely enjoyed this year in ISM, and I loved presenting this product and presentation even more.